All right, fam, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark. On this channel, we talk all about autism. And in today's video, we're going to talk about methyl B12 and if it could potentially help your autistic child. So stick around. All right, fam, welcome back to the channel. Like I said in the intro, in today's video, we're going to talk all about methyl B12. But before we do that, we have a few quick things to discuss. Number one, I am not a doctor or a medical professional. Nothing I say should be taken as medical or professional advice. All I'm doing is sharing our journey with you. So make sure you do your own research before changing or implementing any of the strategies discussed throughout any of my videos. And then number two, on this channel, we have what I like to call the buddy system, which is essentially an agreement. And all that is if you watch my videos and you feel like you get value from my videos and you want to watch all of my videos completely for free, then we're going to shake on it that you agree to subscribe to the channel. It's quick, it's easy, and best of all, it is free. All right, now let's dive in and let's talk all about methyl B12 and if it's advantageous for your autistic child. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to answer the question, what exactly is methyl B12? So the actual name for methyl B12 is methylcobalamin, which is the most active form of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is an essential nutrient that is important for the proper functioning of the nervous system, the production of DNA in red blood cells, and methyl B12 is also involved in the methylation and detoxification processes. In fact, impaired methylation is associated with many of the symptoms commonly seen in so many of our autistic children. Methyl B12 helps to increase the amount of fuel in the brain. And generally speaking, with more fuel, things generally run better, right? So think about a car. If a car has no fuel, well, then it can't run. So for many of our autistic children, what that looks like is an improvement in many of the symptoms that they struggle with. And on top of that, there are numerous studies that indicate how beneficial methyl B12 can be for our autistic children. Now let's dive in and let's talk about methyl B12 and some of the ways that it could potentially help your autistic child. So number one, methyl B12 plays a key role in methylation. Now, in this video, we're not going to dive too deep into the specifics of methylation because it's a very complex process involved in many different functions, and that would take an entire video all on its own. But by improving methylation, you improve many other functions. Number two, modulate neurotransmitters. Methyl B12 modulates neurotransmitters such as dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, which impact mood, energy, and sleep. Number three, communication and social interaction. Communication and social interactions are complex and involve many different brain functions. And as we mentioned before, methyl B12 has been shown to positively impact neurotransmitter function, which is essential for communication. Number four, reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. Methyl B12 has been shown to help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which have been linked to autism. So number five, we have detoxification. Improving methylation also improves the production of glutathione, which is the body's main antioxidant. And by improving detoxification, we generally see an improvement in many different areas. Number six, energy production. Earlier, we mentioned how methyl B12 provides more fuel for the brain. And this is because when methylation is improved, you also improve energy production. Okay, now let's talk about the different types of methyl B12. So you have methylcobalamin, which is the most studied form of B12 and is generally the most effective for autism. Then you have cyanocobalamin, and this is the form of B12 that is commonly found in supplements in stores like CVS and food stores. And then you have hydroxycobalamin and adenosylcobalamin. And usually this is best for kids that can't handle methyl B12 for whatever reason. Maybe they're already over-methylating, and adding methyl B12 is just going to be too much for them. Okay, now let's talk about the different forms of methyl B12. So you have injections, which are generally done subcutaneously, and they're usually done in the buttocks while the child is sleeping, because one of the things that I hear from parents all the time is, there is no way my child will let me give them an injection. Absolutely no way. And listen, I get it. When the doctor first mentioned injections, I was like, are you crazy? Franco will absolutely never allow us to give him an injection. Here's the thing. The needle that you use is so small, it's so thin and so small that the child can barely feel it. Maybe the child will move a little bit. Half the time, Franco didn't even wake up. Sometimes he would just move and kind of swat at it, and that was it, and it was over. But it's really not as hard or as complicated as you think it is. I promise you. Because I know that, and the reason that I mentioned this is because, like I said before, I was really intimidated by this. I was like, there is absolutely no way that Franco was going to allow us to give him an injection. But as far as injections go, it really was not as difficult as I anticipated it to be. And then you have liquid versions. And generally speaking, when it comes to liquid versions, the best way to consume them is either sublingually or swishing them around the mouth, because what that does is it allows them to enter directly into the bloodstream rather than having to go through the digestive system. And when that happens, the digestive system generally breaks down a lot of the supplement, rendering it inactive. So again, the best way to do it if you're taking a liquid version is to use it sublingually or have your child swish it around their mouth. Okay, and then lastly, we have tablets and nasal sprays. And as far as the efficacy goes on tablets and nasal sprays, I really can't comment too much on that because I don't personally have any experience with that. As far as tablets go, I would assume that they're not that great because when you swallow it and it goes through the digestive tract, it's probably going to break down a lot of it. And as far as the nasal spray goes, again, I really can't comment too much on the efficacy of that because I do not have any experience with it. So the two that we personally have experience with is the injections, and we also have experience with the liquid version sublingually or swishing it around the mouth. And those have both been very beneficial for my son. But the thing about injections is you can't just buy it over the counter, right? You need a doctor to prescribe it. All right, now let's talk about some of the improvements that parents are seeing in their children when they use methyl B12. So parents are reporting improvements in all of the following areas. We have sleep, gastrointestinal symptoms, hyperactivity, tantrums and meltdowns, vision, eye contact, echolalia, bedwetting, communication, coping skills, social skills, better focus, and attention. And like I mentioned before, many parents do claim that methyl B12 was the single most effective protocol that they've used for their children. So in conclusion, methyl B12 is a promising option for many autistic children, and it may help to improve many of the symptoms commonly seen in a lot of our children. However, with that being said, as we always say, every child is very, very different, and what works for one child may not work for another. So with all of these things, it's kind of like a trial and error process. You got to kind of try it out, see how your child responds to it. Is it a positive reaction or a negative reaction? And then kind of go from there, because unfortunately, there is no one-size-fits-all approach. In these videos, all I'm doing is sharing information with you so that you can open up your mind and awareness to possibly know that there may be other ways to help support your autistic child. And one thing that I want to make extremely clear throughout all of my videos, because I don't think that I talk about this enough, and this is very, very important. All of these supplements, all of these biomedical treatments are not intended to replace the traditional therapies that you're already doing for your children. Instead, they're meant to complement them and work synergistically together. In fact, that's when the magic happened for my son, because I've talked about this in the past, but we were doing all the traditional autism therapies, but my son was just not progressing. And on top of that, we noticed that he was having a lot of health issues. So we went to the doctor, kind of just brushed it off and said, that's just kind of part of autism. Unfortunately, it is what it is, right? And at the time, I didn't know a lot about autism. So I kind of just said, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, because it went hand in hand with what I was reading online, because there were many parents claiming their children were struggling with the exact same things that my son was struggling with. So I said, oh, that makes sense. And then a few months down the road, his symptoms were getting worse. His health issues were getting worse. And I said, this really doesn't make too much sense to me. Even if this is, common amongst many autistic children, as I've said before, I hate when doctors just brush it off and they use the wording part of autism. I hate that. I really don't like that at all. So to put it a different way, even if this is common amongst many autistic children, what can we do to help these kids? It's unacceptable to say that it's just part of autism and that they have to struggle with these things, or you just put a Band-Aid on it like Marilax for constipation. That's unacceptable to me. So I think that I'm just sharing knowledge and information with you to open up your mind and awareness to help you know that there may be other ways to help support your autistic child, because I believe that getting to the root cause of these things and figuring out what the problem actually is and healing them from the inside out is when the magic happens. But like always, like I always say throughout all of my videos, make sure you speak with a medical professional before changing or implementing any of the strategies discussed throughout any of my videos. All I'm doing is sharing our journey with you. All right, fam, thank you so much for watching the video today. I hope you found this information on methyl B12 to be helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And as always, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this in the future. All right, fam, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.